What's up, guys? This is Jay Griff, and welcome back to the Dark Souls 3 Blog of Pain. So, been playing Dark Souls 3 for a little while now. Made it a little further in the game, found out a little bit about the lore, about, what's been going on in the world, why we're back into this. Precious little, honestly. Precious little. But, something I want to talk about today is that this game has a lot of NPCs, like a whole lot of NPCs that you get introduced to pretty quickly. And NPCs are important in the Dark Souls series. NPCs are one of the main ways that the Souls series gives true atmosphere and tone to what's going on. It's the setting, and it tells the story through the NPCs by telling their story. It helps you better understand the whole situation. Dark Souls 1 did this flawlessly, of course. They had very memorable characters. We had Solaire of Astora, you had Lautrec of Karim, Petrus, the traitorous asshole, Quilana, Quelag, the Fair Lady, and the entire tragedy of their family therein. You had Anastasia, Siegmeyer and his pursuing daughter Sieglind, Big Hat Logan and his half-wit apprentice. Everybody had a story in Dark Souls 1. Almost every NPC had some meaningful and deeper impact on the world, on the tone, and on you as the player. More than just being fun, but ultimately meaningless flavor upon the world. It was much more than that. You understood what a bleak place Lordran could be through the experience of these NPCs, and you saw the lengths to which they had to go in order to maintain personal hope or to do right by their families or what they believed or just to stay alive. Dark Souls 2 was not quite so successful. I struggle to name a single NPC other than Lucatiel of Mira from DS2, and even she had little to do with anything, but she did at least have a full character arc as you watched her descend into the madness of hollowing, and you somewhat allowed her to hold on to the memory of someone, which delayed her hollowing just because you kept showing up. So she could remember you, and she could hold on to that, but eventually she forgot who she was and what she was doing, and so she also went hollow. The others, though, I can barely remember that the Emerald Herald was named Shenalot. I don't remember the name of the woman with the cleavage that you sold rocks, or that she sold rocks, and I was completely unmoved by the supposed drama between her and her father, the blacksmith. They were just stupid. The woman that sold you miracles, but didn't know their origin, was kind of interesting. But ultimately, it led to a fairly flaccid invasion scenario. You get where I'm going with this. That's all I'll say about Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 3, it hits a similar note to 1. And I don't just mean that when I say that some of the characters are either from Dark Souls 1, looking at you, Andre, or a direct callback to Dark Souls 1. We'll see one of those. But I mean that they all have genuinely interesting and different motivations, and not all of them are picking up what you're putting down. In the interest of time, I'm only going to talk about a few of these right now, but a few that I want to highlight. So you've got this guy, Grey Rat. He's a thief, and you find him rotting in a cell. And you can choose to accept him into your service if you're willing to do a small favor for him. He wants you to deliver a ring to a woman named Loretta in the Undead Settlement. You can tell that the ring is very important to him, and that she was very important to him in the way that he's talking to you, and the ring is nothing remarkable. It's a blue teardrop ring, which is a rather crappy ring you usually find in starter areas. But you agree to do this, because he's begging you. Well, it turns out she's dead. And you can bring back this bone and give it to him if you choose to. You don't have to give it to him. It's a choice. But if you give it to him, which I did, it kind of sends him over the edge. He freaks out a little bit, tries to keep it in, but then if you leave Firelink Shrine and come back later, you find him just kind of curled up in a ball, softly crying to himself. I'm really hoping I didn't just convince this guy to kill himself. But we'll see. We'll see, I guess. Another NPC that you have is Irina of Karim, who is that's a direct callback to Dark Souls 1, Karim. Lautrec was from Karim, so we knew that there was a land called Karim. So even though Lordran isn't called the same thing anymore, Karim, it seems, still is. And up until this point, Karim seemed to be a land made up entirely of assholes, because Lautrec was from it, and he was a fucking dick. She's a little different. She's a gentle soul and a failure who came to this land to become a firekeeper, but she couldn't pull it off. I'm not sure why exactly, but what you do know about her is that she's blind. Now, I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but the fact that she's blind makes her very similar to firekeepers from Dark Souls 1. Anastasia of Firelink Shrine. She was missing her tongue and couldn't talk. The brass armor-clad maiden of Anor Londo was supposedly very deformed, very hideous underneath her armor. You never get to see her face, though, so you don't get to see that, but you do find out that that's her deal. The Fair Lady is the Fair Lady. She is a mutant spider demon thing. So there's always been something wrong with the Firekeepers, but it was never necessarily clear if that had anything to do with them being Firekeepers. So this woman came here to become one, and she apparently failed. So I don't know what's going on there, because she hasn't really told us that much yet. But she does have a very imposing bodyguard, Egon of Karim, who is a knight of Karim who genuinely seems to hate his job. He talks mad shit about this girl. He talks down to her, he calls her weak, he hates that he has to look out for her, and when you let her out of the cell that he might have locked her inside, he kinda gets on you about that, because he doesn't appreciate you helping someone that can't help themselves. Now, I did set her free, and because I did, she became my miracle trainer, and she tells me a little bit about Karim, a very little bit, and that she was once a nun, and that's how she knows the miracles. But she's depressed. She's really depressed, and you've given her a new lease on life, essentially, by coming along and saving her. So she's very indebted to you. I'm curious to see what else she can tell us as the game goes on. You also meet Henri of Astora, who is a female knight. She's sporting the Elite Knight set, which was previously seen on Oscar of Astora. His name's not in the game, but he's the guy that gives you the key to get out of your cell in Dark Souls 1. And she has a mute bodyguard named Horus. They're on their own unkindled quest. They're headed for the Cathedral of the Deep. And she kind of offers her assistance in a backwards sort of way, so I'm pretty sure that once I get to the keep, I'll either run into her again, or I will find her summon sign so that I can call her for assistance against the boss. Very similar to her predecessor, Solaire of Astora, the quintessential king of co-op. I'm interested to see where they're going with these two. You don't get much on them, and as soon as you talk to them, they up and they're on their way. I haven't run into them again, but I'm interested to see what they're up to. Then there's some other NPCs who are just on their own damn program. We've got a new Onion Knight, Siegward, who is no doubt a descendant of Siegmeyer. He's up to the same antics as his ancestor. He can't figure out where to go by himself. He's indecisive. He thinks too much, and it's up to you to really spur him into action. This time by getting yourself into trouble. That was pretty cool that he comes to your aid, and then he gives you some beer for as a way of saying that you're like brothers at arms now. That's pretty cool, and I'm sure he's going to be bumbling his way through the game. There's also Cirrus of the Sunless Realms. Now this is a cool girl. She showed up in Firelink Shrine all by herself. You didn't talk to her before she came to the shrine like the other NPCs. She identifies herself as a former servant of the divinity. So straight up, she used to serve the gods. She doesn't now. Who knows what she's doing then? But she's very upfront about not wanting your help, not wanting to help you. She wishes you the blessings of the moon. Now the moon, that's a callback to Gwendolyn, who was the Dark Moon. He was the son of Gwyn, who was attuned to the powers of the moon rather than the powers of the sun, so they raised him as a daughter. That made him both really weird and fucked him up in the head, and he couldn't accept Anne Orlando's downfall and created the illusion there. So this woman appears to be from a place where the worship of the sun and fire is not the order of the day. It's not what they do there. And I really hope we get to go to this place and that I run into this girl again. I'm very interested to know if they actually are servants of the Dark Moon, and if they're carrying on Gwendolyn's will in one way or another. But she said she's a former servant of the divinity, so I'm not really sure what she is doing, because if she's carrying on the will of Gwendolyn, I would expect her to be a current servant of the divinity, but we'll see. The last one I want to talk about is Yol of Londor, which I'm pretty sure is just what remains of New Londo, just based off the name. This guy freaks me out. This guy is up to some shit. So this guy, he's one of the pilgrims. He's one of the dudes with the turtle shell-like thing on his back. He's chained up. He didn't die like the rest of the pilgrims you find around him. He lived on, and he was super butthurt about it. He's despairing loudly when you find him, but you can accept him into your service, and he becomes a sorcery trainer, because he was a sorcerer previously. And he also keeps promising to bring out your true strength. He also keeps talking about the dark sign, which is the thing that's on your body that curses undead. Now, I was really surprised when I went to go see this guy and find out what that meant, because he wanted to level me up. That's weird enough by itself, because he's the only NPC other than the Firekeeper who can do that. And I didn't expect there to be another way to level up other than the Firekeeper. But more freaky than that, he wants to do it without using any souls. It's a free level. Okay, hold on a second, because nothing is free, especially in Dark Souls. And this guy, here he is, he's offering seemingly a free level, and he's creepy as fuck in the general sense. I don't trust this guy. I don't trust this guy at all, and I've got my eye on him. I'm not taking him up on his offer. I'm not buying any of his sorceries. I'm just going to let him friggin' sit there and hope he doesn't start killing the other NPCs. I might have to kill this guy myself. I'm not sure what happens if you kill one of the NPCs in Firelink. I wonder if the other guys freak out. I don't know. But I'm not buying what he's selling. There's going to be a price to this in the end. So, overall, I really like these NPCs. They're really much more interesting to me than the ones that were in Dark Souls 2. And it's a refreshing return to Dark Souls 1, where the NPCs are out, they're doing their own thing. They've all got their own agenda, even if that agenda turns out to be serving you. And they've all got their reasons, and I'm actually genuinely interested to know what those reasons are. So, next time on the Blog of Pain, we're going to get back to talking about the gameplay and the areas. Because I have hit an area. Oh man, things were going pretty smoothly since I got past Vorth of the Boreal Valley. Went pretty smoothly through the undead settlements, pretty smoothly down into the Crucifixion Woods where I met Henri and all them. But then I got a little too close to Farron's Keep. And that place is from hell. It is the worst. Oh my god. So next time on the Dark Souls Blog of Pain, Farron's Keep, and I can't get any further. Thanks for listening, guys.